A complete legal autopsy on a seriously high-stakes family drama that fought its way all the way to the Philippine Supreme Court. We are unpacking the fascinating 2019 case of Heirs of Satramdas v. Sadhwani. Now, this isn't just your standard family feud. It is a literal masterclass in the intersection of constitutional law, property rights, and honestly, the incredibly unforgiving nature of legal procedures. So get ready, because the twists in this case are absolutely wild. Okay, let's dive right into the burning question at the heart of today's analysis. How do you lose a multi-million peso inheritance before the trial even begins? Imagine funding these incredible real estate investments, keeping it all in the family, and just assuming the law will naturally protect your children's inheritance when you pass away. The Sadhwani family thought they had it all completely figured out. But as you'll see, a crazy mix of fatal procedural errors and absolute constitutional bans derailed their claims entirely, literally before a single witness could even take the stand. Let's start with Section 1, the wealthy family property feud, a tale of two assets. To really grasp the law here, we first have to understand the human element and the massive wealth at stake. So picture this. It's the 1980s, and spouses Satramdas and Kishnibhai Sadhwani are purchasing some very lucrative properties. But they don't put the titles in their own names. Instead, they place everything under the name of just one of their sons, Goop Sadhwani. The idea was that he'd hold the properties in trust for his parents and his siblings. Well, fast forward, the parents pass away, and the plot thickens. Goop turns around and sells one of those prime properties for a cool 20 million pesos. Naturally, the other siblings feel completely betrayed, cut out of their inheritance, and they file a massive lawsuit against Goop. And this brilliantly illustrates the two very different assets caught in the crossfire here. We're dealing with real estate in Makati City, but on one side we have the Bel Air property, which is a traditional house and lot. On the other side, we have a condo unit at the Ritz Tower on Ayala Avenue. Keep this distinction in the back of your mind, because as we're about to see, the law treats raw land and condominiums very, very differently. Moving right along to Section 2, the wrong legal remedy, a procedural pitfall. Before the court even got into the juicy details of who promised what, the siblings hit a massive brick wall. Down at the trial court, Goop's lawyers filed a motion to dismiss the siblings' complaint, and the judge actually granted it. Now, the judge dismissed it without prejudice. What does that mean in plain English? Well, it means the court didn't ban the siblings from suing forever. They basically just threw out this specific defective complaint. The siblings had every right to just fix their typos, adjust their arguments, and refile the case from scratch. But they didn't do that. Instead, they tried to appeal the dismissal straight up to the Supreme Court. And this is where the rules of civil procedure bite back hard. Under Rule 41, you absolutely cannot file an ordinary appeal for an order dismissing an action without prejudice. It's explicitly forbidden. If they really wanted to challenge the judge without simply refiling, their only path was a special civil action under Rule 65 for certiorari. And even then, they should have gone to the Court of Appeals, not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was super clear here. The siblings used the completely wrong remedy and violated the hierarchy of courts. Procedural law is unforgiving by design, right? It keeps the judicial system from descending into chaos. Because of this single glaring mistake, their petition was fundamentally doomed. But, and here's the cool part, the Supreme Court realized the underlying issues were so important that they decided to explain exactly why the siblings' case was legally flawed anyway. Which brings us to Section 3, the constitutional ban on aliens, the fatal flaw for the land. Let's look at that first asset, the house and lot in Bel Air, and see why the siblings' claim was completely invalid. Listen to what Section 7, Article 12 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution explicitly states. It says, "Save in cases of hereditary succession, no private lands shall be transferred or conveyed except to individuals, corporations, or associations qualified to acquire or hold lands of the public domain." The entire purpose of this is the conservation of the national patrimony. It is a strict, inflexible constitutional rule. Now, here is where the facts completely collide with that law. The parents who originally funded the purchase were Indian nationals. Therefore, under the Constitution, they were absolutely prohibited from acquiring or owning private lands in the Philippines. And you can't just use an implied trust or a dummy corporation to sneak around this rule. Because the parents knowingly tried to circumvent the Constitution, that trust arrangement was entirely void. They legally owned nothing. And if you own nothing, well, you have no property rights to pass down to your kids. So the crucial concept here is failure to state a cause of action. The Supreme Court basically said, let's assume everything the siblings are claiming is 100% true. Let's pretend Gope really did betray everyone. Even then, the siblings still lose. Why? Because their whole lawsuit is based on inheriting land from their parents. Since their foreign parents couldn't legally own the land to begin with, there was literally nothing for the siblings to inherit. The law just flat out doesn't support the claim.
Okay, let's pivot to Section 4. What about the condominium? The twist of nationality. That explains the Bel Air land for sure, but what about the Ritz condominium unit?
I want you to think about this for a second. We know foreign ownership rules are a bit different for condos in the Philippines, right? Foreigners can sometimes own them. So if the absolute constitutional ban on land doesn't apply the exact same way to a condo, why did the siblings still lose the Ritz Tower property? The answer is an incredible twist of international law.
It all boils down to Article 16 of the Philippine Civil Code. This rule says that while real estate is generally governed by the laws of the country where it's located, there is a massive exception for inheritance. Who gets what when someone dies is regulated by the national law of the deceased person. Inheritance is tied to citizenship, no matter where the actual property is sitting.
And here is the massive twist. When the siblings filed their complaint, they claimed their inheritance rights under the Philippine Civil Code. But wait, their parents were Indian nationals. So Philippine succession laws didn't even apply to their estate. To win, the siblings legally had to plead and prove that they were entitled to inherit under the laws of the Republic of India, and they completely failed to do that. Because they leaned on the wrong country's laws, they couldn't establish any legal right to the condo either.
Let's wrap this up with Section 5, Lessons for Property and Heirs, the Price of Mistakes. This case is a goldmine of hard-learned takeaways. 0. That is literally the exact amount of property the siblings legally secured from this specific Supreme Court lawsuit. Despite the millions of pesos at stake, the years of stressful litigation, and the broken family ties, a wild combination of procedural blunders and legal impossibilities left them completely empty-handed here.
The court's ruling actually gives us a brilliant roadmap of what not to do. Step 1. Procedure matters. If your case is dismissed without prejudice, just refile it. Don't stubbornly appeal it to the highest court. Step 2. The Constitution is supreme. You cannot use dummy trusts to bypass the ban on alien land ownership. The courts won't protect an illegal setup. And Step 3. Nationality dictates succession. If you're dealing with the estate of a foreign national, you absolutely must apply and prove the laws of their home country.
It really makes you step back, doesn't it? The Sadhwani parents probably thought they were being incredibly clever, protecting their wealth for their kids. Instead, they accidentally built a legal house of cards. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. Are your family's assets truly legally protected, or are they just a lawsuit waiting to happen? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.